This is the YHE BP Doctor Pro and it's a blood pressure monitoring smartwatch. Currently it's priced at $199 on their website and that comes out to around 900 ringgit here in Malaysia. In the box you get the smartwatch itself in the middle right here, and you also get a charging dock, a micro USB cable and some paperwork included alongside a measuring paper for your wrist. Taking a look at the design and build of the smartwatch, we can see that it's built with an inflatable cuff on the strap so the sensor can measure your blood pressure accurately. This is actually pretty interesting and it gets really tight when the inflatable cuff is actually inflated. The top and bottom strap is made out of silicone rubber and it's pretty soft and flexible and it's comfortable in hand when using it. The body of the watch is made out of this medical grade 316L stainless steel and it looks very shiny and has a polished finish here. I really like the look of this, it looks very professional but the edges can be a little bit sharp. The screen is actually more of a rectangle at 1.4 inches and it doesn't really cover the front of the smartwatch. There's actually quite a big bezel around it, but I really don't mind that because the screen here is actually really sharp and saturated. On the sides you have two buttons here. The smaller one is an on and off button, so if you press it, it turns the screen on or off, while the larger button acts like a menu button or the back button when you're using it in the interface. At the back of the smartwatch is where you can see all of your sensors. Here you have a PPG heart rate sensor alongside another triaxial accelerometer, and you also can see the pins right here that you use to charge up the smartwatch with. And moving on to battery life, from my experience, the battery life here is pretty interesting. YHE claims that it has around 3 days of battery life for normal use, and that is true from my testing. I do get around 2.5 days to be honest when using it because I think the brightness is quite bright and I go out a lot. But if you have the always display turned on, it only lasts for around a day from my use. It really drains the battery really quickly even though it's an AMOLED screen. And another thing is if you always regularly use the sensors to test your blood pressure, your heart rate and your SpO2 levels, it does eat up the battery really fast. Charging it up is pretty alright. It only takes around 1.5 hours to fully charge up the battery from 0 to 100, but one thing I don't really like is the charging dock and the cable used. The dock is a little bit weird, it doesn't really sit flush, especially with the smartwatch inserted. It only can sit on this angle and charge up the smartwatch. And for the cable here, it still uses a micro USB cable in 2023 and I think that's a little bit disappointing. But overall the battery life is pretty okay for a smartwatch like this because it focuses on BP and there's nothing really like it on the market now. Now let's talk about the interface of this smartwatch. The first thing you will see when you turn it on is of course the watch face, and currently I have 5 in total stored in the watch here. But there's actually more in the app which I will be taking a look at later. Swiping down from the top, you get your quick settings menu here, and in the settings you can change up your brightness and have access to other stuff like the Bluetooth, the do not disturb mode and power savings mode. And swiping to the top from the bottom, you can access all of your notifications and messages from your smartphone. On the right side, you have your BP monitoring, your heart rate monitoring and your SpO2 levels. You can measure all of them here. While on the left side, you have a summary for the day about your distance walk, calories burned and your step count. Besides that, pressing on the larger button will actually bring up the menu, and this is where you can access most of the tracking apps and also access your workouts, your sleep and the weather app here. And if you want to access the more in-depth settings of this smartwatch, you also can access it through this menu. For the features or the tracking and monitoring, from my use, I think that it's actually pretty accurate and that is really good. There isn't a lot of sport activities you can track here, but the monitoring for the blood pressure, the heart rate, the SpO2 levels has surprisingly been accurate from my testing. Covering the app really quickly, the software is called the BP Doctor Plus and you can download it in the Play Store and App Store. And basically all the data from the smartwatch will be transferred here and you can view them more in depth on the health page by day, week or year. On the calendar page, you can plan out your activities, set alarms according to your schedule, and this is a pretty interesting organizer right here, but I don't really use it. And on the profiles page, this is where most of the settings are, so you can change it to your liking. And this is also where you can view the extra watch faces in the app. Currently there's not a lot, only 9 here in total from what I can see. It's not a lot, but honestly this is enough for me. So overall, from using the smartwatch, it does stand out to me, especially because of that blood pressure monitoring feature. I think this smartwatch is not made for the normal user, but for people who actually want or need to keep track of their blood pressure on the go. You don't really have to carry around a big tool or a big device to monitor it or keep track of your BP, and having this smartwatch can really help you if you need to track it. Of course, there are also improvements that YHE can make, but overall the build quality is nice, the interface is responsive, and the app works wonderfully, and tracking and monitoring is accurate, and the data is good. And summing this whole thing up, I would say for the price, I think it's a pretty good blood pressure tracking smartwatch because there's nothing really on the market that can compete with this. So that does it for the review of this YHE BP Doctor Pro, and thank you to YHE for actually sending this over and sponsoring this video. So if you're interested in this device, do check out the links in the description below. They do make another smartwatch that is also pretty interesting, and I'll link that down there so you can read more about it and check out their company. And that does it for this video, guys. Leave a like on this video if you liked it, dislike this video if you didn't like it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I have even more reviews like this coming very soon, and as always, thanks for watching. Goodbye, guys.